Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Sex, Lies, and Consciousness with your luscious hostess, May Vu, broadcasting live every Monday at 12 noon Pacific Time.
Hello, everyone. This is May, and today begins my launch for exploring our 50 Shades of Grey for the month of September on Sex, Lies, and Consciousness. I am inspired by the popularity of this book, 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James, and all my female friends are in that hush, hush, giggle, giggle, hey, have you read the book? And you know, like lots of elbow nudging and eye winking. It's like, I want some of that. You know, how do I get some of that? I wish I had that kind of man in my life. And if you don't know what the books, it's actually a series of 3 books, but if you don't know what the books are about, it's about the story of an inexperienced young woman who encountered her first love and first experience of being in a dominant, submissive relationship. And if you want more about it, please Google it. You'll find plenty of explanation and description. I'm actually not interested in talking about the book today, but I'm much more interested in talking about how do we get started? How do we get started to unleash, to let out, and to encourage our great tendencies, I call it. Popularity, the desire, the excitement from the women around the world reading the book is very exciting. And to be honest, it's about time. It's about time that we're getting some of this good stuff out, that you can enjoy this good stuff. And I have to tell you, the first time I encountered this invitation from my soul to explore in this arena, my reaction was like a child encountering something really scary. La, 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 la. I don't want to hear it. Don't tell me about flogging and tying me up. No, that's so unnatural and so not okay, and all that. All my fear just came up. So today I invited with me a very special friend, Leah Shapiro. She is the creator of Delicious Lounge in the East Coast and a super coach. You can find her at Defy the Box. Leah and I will wind our clock and go back in time when we first started exploring our own 50 Shades of Grey. And so we'll spend the first 3 minutes retelling stories. And I don't know her story at all, and she doesn't know mine. We are Facebook friends, as you call it. And it will be very fun and adventurous, I'm sure of it. Then on the second half of the show, we're going to shift into the how-to part. How do I get started? What are the do's and don'ts, and where to begin? What are the places that we can go to learn something about this, or even encounter men and women who are dominant and submissive tendency? So Leah and I, we straddle the 2 coasts of America. We should have plenty of information for you to dip your toes into the water. Leah, come on, honey.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So tell them a little bit about yourself so that they can, warm up. Yeah.
Well, my name is Leah Shapiro. I call myself a life activator and kick-ass catalyst, and I live in Boston, Massachusetts, with 2 fabulous kitties and an awesome lover man who is actually about to move in with me this week,
Ooh.
Which will put a whole new twist on our experience together. It's pretty exciting.
I'd like to do a show on that. What happened when we move in together?
Well, I'll be able to tell you very soon. And I am a lover of life. I believe that we are here to enjoy and explore and expand and taste all the juicy goodness that life has to offer. And
you guys should go to her website, Defy the Box. It's very simple and elegant, and you see, I love your picture. I love how you are on Facebook and how you are on the medias and your website. You're just like real, honey, and you lay it out there, and I love all your tattoos and your purple hair and all that good stuff, and you really do live what you say you stand for.
Yeah, thanks. I do my best.
Yes, and so tell them. Let's start. Tell us a little bit about your kinky side. And side and how did that happen, and and so on and so forth. All the good stuff.
My kinky side. Well, I've always had a kinky side. Even I remember the first time I was exposed to it. I was probably 13, I would guess, and I found this book called The Story of O. Yeah, 13 years old, a little Scorpio kid. I'm a Scorpio, so sex is in my DNA big time. And I found this book and I read it, and it fascinated me. I was fascinated by it, by both sides of it, by the woman's journey in it. And it's similar to 50 Shades of Grey. A woman falls in love with a man who introduces her into a BDSM relationship. And, I was just fascinated by both sides of it. Growing up, I didn't have a lot of experience or opportunities to experience that kind of relationship. I didn't really have a real boyfriend until I was 18, and he definitely was shy sexually, very vanilla. And as I grew older and had a little more sexual experience, I was definitely always the adventuresome one.
Let me just slow you down here. So at 13, you discovered this big old body of work, this humongous doorway, and I'm making up a story that you had to kind of hold that all together as you are with a shy boyfriend and all this stuff around you. It's what did you do with all that desire?
Well, I just kind of I wanted somebody else to do it, to bring it up, but none of the guys I was really meeting did.
Yeah.
It was just in the back of my mind. It was always well, maybe we want to tie, want to tie me up, or let me tie him up, and it just never really came up. It was I would try to push things that direction, and my partners were always I don't know. So in my relationship, it wasn't really there, and we couldn't talk about it because he was shy about sex. And I think this is something that we'll definitely have to go into later on in the conversation. But so my boyfriend wasn't into it really. He didn't want to talk about it. So that made me feel kind of bad. There was something I wanted that wasn't good. It was there's something shameful about that. And as I grew older and had many more partners, I was very sexual in the 80s and when I was in my 20s and early 30s. Yeah. And I had a lot of partners and played around, but never really trusted anybody enough to get to really go into any kind of real dominant submissive stuff.
Right. So you have a lot of I hate to use the word vanilla sex because I don't want it to sound insulting. Normal, precise sex that we all kind of grew up with. Sex to me be kind of sex, right?
Yeah. And definitely some adventuresome. Definitely there was edge of adventuresomeness there, but it wasn't tie me up, tie me down kind of stuff. There wasn't any spanking, and there wasn't. Although wrestling was always something that I liked to do, and I could always find someone to do that. But there definitely wasn't. We weren't embodying any roles.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I turned. It was in my 30s, and I decided that I really wanted to pursue it. I had formed a few friendships. I worked in restaurants. I knew a lot of different kinds of people, and I formed a few friendships, one with another guy who I worked in the kitchen at this point, my friend Brian, and we worked in the kitchen together, and we started talking about this stuff, about this book. The book came up. We started talking about it. And
The Story of O book.
The Story of O, and we decided we wanted to go to this club in Boston called Man Ray, which was this wild club that had a fetish night on Friday nights, and we're we want to go. So we went. I never would have gone by myself, but he and I decided we were going to go, and that just opened up my world. Through going to that club, which it was a fetish BDSM night. They had a dominatrix who who you could go in the dungeon and you could get hooked up on the cross and you can get flogged. They had people in all kinds of fetish wear, all kinds of different representation of kink and fetish and BDSM relationships were there. Like all kinds of people. It was crazy.
Were you excited or were you scared to death?
I was excited. Like, this never scared me. I was excited. I was like a kid in a candy shop, like running out looking at people. Like I went home with somebody that first night and played a little bit. Like it was like totally awkward and nothing like to write home about, but it was like, you know, I was in it. I was gonna do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were so lucky because I didn't have that experience. I was scared to death. I couldn't breathe even now thinking about it. My feet are really cold and my arms are sweating. I mean, it was just like where did somebody turn off the oxygen for me? You know, when I walk into my very first club and people are doing it and you know, they're looking at me and like, oh, your turn, you know, and I'm like,
Well, it was weird. The thing that was intimidating to me was that I looked the part of a dominatrix. I'm a tall woman. I'm like 5'10". I have broad shoulders. At that point, I had really short hair, and I knew how to work it. Like I looked like. I was an imposing person, and I've always had I'm very sure of myself, I'm very confident, I'm not afraid of somebody else doing anything to me. I'm like, you know, I feel very secure and safe inside myself. And so, I had guys coming up and just, kneeling in front of me. And I was like, what are you doing? Get off the floor.
Even with your reaction, get off the floor.
But it was a really strange experience to have these everyone who's in the scene just assumed that I was like that. I was just like them. I felt part of it from the very get-go. And
your kink just found the right home kind of thing.
Yeah, it was just like coming home, actually. And through that club, I formed my deepest, most beautiful friendships with people that I still have, you know.
Wow.
And I had so many experiences and opportunities, and my life just blew up in this really wild way. And it was, you know, that was the place. We went there every Friday night.
Wow. Let me just slow us down for a second, because we're using some terminology that my audience may not know of. You know, we're throwing kink around, like we know what that means, and BDSM. You know, it took me. I'm a little slow on these things because of lack of oxygen. You know, I can't even remember what BDSM stands for a lot of the time because it's so much hyperventilation for me. So BDSM stands for bondage, dominating. Is that right?
Discipline.
Oh, bondage, discipline. See? BDSM, sadomasochism, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yay! So the difference between us is that you found home, and for me, it's I'm a keen visitor. I'm like, wow, I'm in a totally new land, and my vanilla self is just trapped, you know, totally terrified. And at the same time, I was fascinated, and I saw so much power and so much good stuff that was happening in front of me. You know, I'm like, oh, my vanilla world is so closeted and so cluttered with rules and craziness that this world, even though it looks black and it's leather and all and groaning and all these things that I've been trained to think of it inappropriate, it's actually quite beautiful and stunning and powerful. And there was so much freedom in your kinky world that I was learning.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting that you say it like that, because the thing that I found that I liked the most about this environment was that here were people who were obviously not the norm. You know what I mean?
Right.
They were expressing themselves and dressing and acting out in ways that most of society would be like, oh, my God, I can't believe you're doing that. But they were owning it, and they were just being themselves right out there in the open. And I really appreciated that.
I did too. I mean, as new for me as it was, it also was exciting too, by the way, but you know, as strange and new as it was for me, I really did that. I got that. What did these people do? How did they get here? How did they get to be so accepting of themselves? How did they get to be so okay, you know, that they are standing there with ropes around their tits, you know, just kind of like, my mother did not prepare me for that. I did my church, by the way. But we move on. And so you came home, you went home, and you started exploring and playing. And then did you just jump in the lifestyle, or did you enter right away, or what did you do next?
Oh, yeah. We just jumped right in, actually. Met a bunch of really cool people, started having parties after hours at my house. We were, like, contriving to make all kinds of equipment, spreader bars. Where can we put the eye hooks in the door frame? Like, seriously.
I know. I've been looking at my apartment right now. I'm going, how do I create a spider web so I can tie people to it? I haven't found a spot yet, and it really bothers me.
Yeah, I was lucky enough that I was able to just jump right in, and we were welcomed. And I think part of it was that I was someone who was very willing and able to get things happening. So, like, I would be like, okay, let's have a party. Let's go after hours. We found somebody who wanted to have parties. Like, I was the person that was, like, that the club, like, one of the gay bars in Boston asked to help them create a fetish party after Gay Pride. Like, I was kind of like a go-to person.
Wow.
And to be honest with you, I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
But I knew how to ask people and get other people involved. So
right.
That was cool.
So wait, now let's talk a bit more about, like, what was or is your tendency? Are you more submissive, which is the bottom, the one that's receiving or the one that's being tied up, or are you more the dominant, which is the one that is taking control of the scene and creating it for your submissive?
I'm definitely more dominant. I like to, like, I haven't really played much in the submissive realm, to be honest with you. Very, very little. Yeah. Oh, wow. Very, very little. I'm open to it.
Yeah.
I just haven't done it yet. I will say.
Even with your lover man, do you guys play, and is he then your bottom?
He's my bottom. If we play, he's my bottom. Yeah.
Wow, how interesting. Oh, I didn't know about this part about you.
Yeah.
Well, because usually what I've been told and have seen myself, you know, like people who are really strong and confident in the world, they're dominant in the world, they tend to be more submissive in the bedroom. And so it sounds like you're both dominant in the world and dominant in the bedroom.
I am, yeah.
Awesome, honey. Well, I'm a total submissive. I love to be the bottom, and I'm a good bottom. And I'm also learning to be the dominant one, and I find that so much more challenging to take control of the situation, to pay attention over there and see what he needs or she needs, and to provide pleasure and do all those things. I just find it very responsible and very I don't know, just it overwhelms me, the role of being the top.
It is a lot of work.
In
a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Well,
yeah.
give us another insight on that. What's it like to be a dominant woman? That's just you know, we don't get to talk about this in vanilla world.
Well, it makes you really popular at the fetish club. because like there's a lot of men who want to be dominated. It's pretty interesting. And like I feel like that's like what a lot of men are attracted to me for, that aspect of my personality. Now, let's be clear, I'm not dominant all the time, but I'm not, like, I tend to drive my sex life. I always have, and I know that's something that my partner really appreciates about me. You know, he loves that.
Let's define these two words too, because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding between what we hear as submissive and dominant. Like when we hear dominant, we think dominating, rather than dominant as in like you're taking on a role that you are asserting, and you're owning. You're owning the scene. You're owning whatever engagement that you're in with that person, so that you're like the provider, right? So it's not dominant as in dominating, like being a bitch about the whole thing. You're only a bitch if it pleases that other person, right?
Yeah. Yep. It's more about like you control what's going on. You decide, like, you know. You set the stage. I mean, it's all negotiation ahead of time, and it's all you know that it's going to be agreed upon. But you are the person that decides, like, where, what, how, when, as far as your sexual activity goes.
The normal sex, the sex for making babies, we don't do that, So I think it's really important that we just like even highlight this part, because it's like. That's what I found so fascinating. I was like, wow, you're about to engage in some kind of play and sex activities and all that stuff, but he's going to stop and ask me, that what I want and how I want to be tied up, or what do I want to experience, and then they're going to do that for me. It just feels so different than what my misunderstanding of this world, this kinky, scary, dark world. I thought people are just done to, you just walk in the middle of a scene and someone is tied up and being whipped, and you think, oh, that poor person, how did she get there,
And that person's like, lucky me, lucky me, lucky me.
Exactly. It's so hard for normal people to understand. It's like, really? Why would you want to be tied up, and why would you want someone to beat the shit out of you like that? That doesn't make sense to me. We're like, no, really. He's the one, or he's the one that's asked for it, and he's the one that decides how hard that we should be hitting them, and I think that's just such a strange concept that normal sex world don't understand.
Well, and I think what the difference is that in a dominant submissive relationship, you need really clear, open, honest communication about what you like, what you don't like, what you want, what you don't want, and how it's all, like, you need to be able to communicate. You need to know your boundaries. You need to, or what boundaries you're willing to go past and what boundaries you aren't willing to go past. And I find that in a lot of vanilla kind of relationships, you don't talk about that stuff.
Right.
And that's what, it's necessary if you're going to be in any kind of dominant submissive relationship to be able to talk about that stuff. I think it's the same as you're like in a poly relationship, a polyamorous relationship. You need to be able to communicate.
I think you need to be able to talk about this stuff in every relationship.
Yeah.
It scares me, like I think about my daughter growing up and that dating. I mean, you kind of like stumble into it. Your parents don't talk about it. Your teachers don't talk about it. Everything is hush-hush and dirty and wrong, right? And then you're in the car with this guy and he's doing stuff and you don't even know what he's doing, and nobody told you that you could say, stop, don't do that. I don't like it, and so be cool. Or someone, like your mother never taught you that, tell him to move a little to the left and a little down there, and oh yeah, right there, honey. When I, just like, it's that. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really important. So that's what I think the kinky world had done for me, is that, I learned to say those things and to ask for what I want and say, it's okay. I really like to I like it when you choke me a little bit, I like it when you hold my hands down. I like it when you slam into me really hard, or, I won't break. And it's like, it takes a lot to get to a place where I can say those things.
Yeah. And I think another thing to point out that is important to get, because it took me a long time to get this, is that for some people, the dominant submission part is not about sex. Like,
What
I
is
know
it about?
it's just about power play, someone giving someone else power over you.
Yeah.
I have a few friends who play, and they are like, I was like, and they're in relationships with other people who aren't interested in playing. They're not interested in any kind of play, so they, let their partners play with other people. I'm like, well, how do you get around the sex part? And my friend was like, it's not about sex. We don't have sex. It's about the power exchange. It's about somebody else giving you permission, like, to tie them up and to flog them or beat them or whatever. So it doesn't have to be about sex. It's about that power exchange.
Well, that's I've been doing my coach. I actually include that into my coaching service now, where I don't do the fetish thing, and I don't provide get off for my client and all that stuff. But I do use, bondage. I use a little pain. I use the dungeon environment to really teach, especially women, how to surrender, how to trust, how to feel safe, in an environment where they just give up, quote unquote, give up their power. Because really, the whole concept is you cannot give away anything you do not have. So when a woman, or a man give away their power, they truly have it. That's why they can surrender it for the moment and feel that surrendering place that is so hard to find.
Yeah.
So then, as playing with these men that they come, I think it's so funny that you said that. Surprisingly, there were a lot of men that came to you that way. I think it's such a needed place, isn't it, for men? Is that there is such a huge population of men who need to be able to surrender, and they don't have that place to surrender in life or in play.
Right. Or be of service. And I think this comes up in, I know that for a lot of submissive men, it's the idea of being in service. Like if you have someone that likes to do body worship or to do the house service, like be a servant in your house, or just be your boy toy. My boyfriend, he loves it when I call him he likes to be my boy toy. Like that's his. He's like, I just want to be your boy toy. But that idea that you are in service to somebody else, and this comes up when we do the Luscious Ladies Lounge. Which is not I'm going to be very clear. It's not a dominant submissive situation at all. But this thing comes up where men don't feel like they're received. They're not able to offer service or offer anything and be received. And I think that's a part of the submissive piece, is that you're saying yes to what someone's giving you, but then when you're in service to them, you're giving something too. And so I think it's a really important piece.
I think so, and it's just it's one of those, again, what I love about, and this name actually is really cool, 50 Shades of Grey, because it is so fuzzy, and this world is so fuzzy, and it's so different than the vanilla and chocolate world, and so it's like when we talk about service, people just go, oh yeah, I know about service, but they don't. They don't know the depth and the power and the beauty and the essence and the grace and the generosity and what it can do for a person when they really submit themselves into service. And then to receive that service, like just as bad, we are so bad at receiving. So it's like to have a man worship your feet, it's like, oh my God, what is that? Like I remember the first time a man kneeled down on the floor in the middle of the shoe store and just like took my shoes off and put some shoes on in that service way. I was like stunned and turned on, and oh my God, it was just so amazing that happened.
Yeah. And you have these feelings like, is this okay? Or but this is weird. Like, what is he doing? There's all these different conflicting emotions, stories, feelings that go through your mind.
Totally. And you can see, I can see all the training that I've had, all the make nice and, oh my gosh, no, 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 get off of that. Please don't do that. But that's just my way of like rejecting and not receiving. And for a guy, when he's fully received, he actually gets bigger and gets more grounded into his body, and he feels so good about himself. And when I don't receive well, I actually take away from him.
Mhm.
And I think that, I'm trained to be a good person. That's so weird.
Mhm.
It's all contradictory to what we grew up with, Leah.
Well, I think that's why it's so difficult for a lot of people to give themselves permission to do it and explore it.
Absolutely.
When my partner and I first got together and we were playing and we decided it'd be fun to get some lessons from a real dominatrix. Went and saw Princess Callie, who runs the Kink Academy, and we took a couple classes with her. And in one of the conversations we had, she was like, the important piece to really embrace your kinkiness is to own what you like, because it's all good. Everyone has different ideas and fantasies and desires, and they're all good. The key is to own it and feel good about it, so you can attract somebody else to you who feels good about it too, into your own little bubble, and you guys do whatever you want. But the problem lies when we don't give ourselves permission to feel good about it, like to do it. And that's when you attract partners who don't like it and make you feel shameful, because they're just reflecting what you're feeling already.
Honey, come on now. You're saying that yeah, that's it. All we have to do is that, right? And like life-changing, most difficult thing to do, because, we can't even walk around and say, I'm going to masturbate this afternoon now. Could you clear the space so I can have 2 hours to myself? We can't even say that, let alone, yes, I like to be tied up and whipped really hard and leave some marks on my body.
Well, you can't in this moment, but really what stops you from saying that?
I remember this summer I went on for a 1 week vacation with my family friends. And we do this with my friends from Arizona. They drive down with their kids, and then I drive down with my kid. And this time I brought my boyfriend with me. So the whole week, we're like cluttered with children and noise and people and everything. And I'm like, God, when do we have time for sex? So finally, and I'm like, wait a minute, I do sex, life, and consciousness. Let's raise some consciousness around this. What's wrong with me needing to have some sex? And I'm like, I made a family announcement. Okay, guys, you guys are going down to the beach. Keith and I are going to stay here, and we're going to have sex before we go down. And you should have seen the scattering of children. They're like, oh, my God, did she just say that?
That's awesome.
I know. Imagine if I say, you know what? Here's my bags of whips and chains, and we're going to have some sex and tie me up and all that stuff to them. They would just faint or something. And they grew up around me. I'm open about sex. I'm okay with sex. Anyway. Yes, everyone, it is true. You must know what you like and be okay with it. And just say, I like that. I like a little spanking. I like a little slapping. Or I like a lot of slapping. Or I like to be punched. It's so contradictory to what you grew up with.
Mhm. And you don't have to tell every single person in the world about it. I think this is mostly just, you don't need to walk around with a sign or tell your family, hey, I've discovered that I love to be bent over the chair and spanked. You don't need to say that, but as long as you feel good inside of yourself about it, then you'll energetically you attract people who are interested in that too, because you don't feel shameful about talking about it in the when it comes up and it feels good, so. But I was one of those people that my brothers would come stay at my apartment and I'd have a flogger hanging on a hook by my bed by my closet, and they're like, oh.
I'm getting there. I'm starting to want to hang those things up.
I don't even think about it anymore.
Actually, my wish is that I will have a dungeon one day really soon. Welcome to my dungeon.
Mhm.
It sounds so good, doesn't it?
It does.
Yes. Okay, let me just take a quick break, and then we'll come back and do some more how-tos. I think we stumbled into that already.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Is your marriage or relationship in crisis? Where one partner wants to expand into their sex and bring scary changes to the relationship, while the other partner is dug in, protective, and saying, "No way in hell is this going to happen." May knows this place well, and she can help both sides. She is truly amazing. Learn more about her specialty, crisis coaching for couples and individuals, at sexliesandconsciousness.com.
Okay, I'm back, and today we are talking about exploring our 50 Shades of Grey. And I have with me Leah Shapiro of Defy the Box Coaching. She's awesome along with all the cool things that she does professionally. Just as a human being and a woman who stands for defying your own box and just live life according to your own terms. I just love who Leah is and what she's bringing to the conversation today. So Leah, before we go to more on how-tos and all that stuff, is there any kind of like juicy story of like in the beginning when you just discover something that you want to share?
I'm
kind of thinking on the spot. She's not prepared for that. But, I was noticing that we need a little bit more sex in here. So.
I'll have to think about that. I think.
Okay,
I will say my embarrassing first experience. The first night that I go to Man Ray and I go home with this guy who pretends to be a sub, but he's someone who bottoms from the top. Basically, he wants you to be dominant, but he's very bossy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I go home with him, and I had bought some vinyl clothes. I like to wear vinyl and rubber and leather. That's part of the whole thing for me. And I'm new. I don't really know the best ways, where to get the best clothes and the best ways to dress. And we had been seeing something that talked about using duct tape to you can make a bra out of duct tape and stuff like that. So me and a girlfriend of mine had done that. We had made this awesome bra out of duct tape that I had under this vinyl top, so my boobs looked awesome.
Yeah.
But so I go home with this guy, and he's like, "Oh, take off my top," and he was like, "What the hell do you have on?" He didn't know what to make of it, and everything kept getting stuck to the duct tape.
Oh.
So it was hairs getting stuck to it. I had fishnet stockings on. Things were getting stuck in my fishnet stockings. It was ridiculous. God, I could tell you stories about cuddle piles with fishnets and facial piercings and all kinds of piercings getting stuck in his fishnet stockings. It's ridiculous.
Okay, that goes on our list of don't do this. Things not to do.
Yeah.
It's really fun for arts and crafty project and all that, but be careful when you use that in a sexy kinky outfit because it grabs her hair and it rips it off and all that stuff that can be very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it wasn't that fun in the long run.
That's right. And then when you do a cuddle pies with more than two people, and if you're wearing fishnet stocking and if people have piercing and things like that on any part of their body, which in this world people do have lots of piercing, things do get caught, and don't yank.
Be careful.
Be careful, don't do sudden movement. Oh, too much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else. Let's see. I'll tell a story. I'll tell a Burning Man story since we are during the Burning Man week. Have you been to Burning Man?
I have.
Oh, yay. Of course you have. So Burning Man is an event that happens once a year out in the desert, the Nevada desert, right? It's this week, just before Labor Day, right?
Yep.
And so it's this the Burning Man group of people that every year it goes and it gets bigger, and there's like 40, probably we're up to about 50,000 people now a day, that come into the desert and set up this temporary society or environment, and then they build everything, amazing stuff. So you should Google up pictures of Burning Man and all that good stuff so that you can see what I'm talking about. Anyway, I went to Burning Man this one year, and it was my first year, right in the middle of my explorations of all this kinky stuff and everything. And I was at a tent called Seven Sins. And next door to that tent, there was a different tent of artists that comes and would airbrush and paint your body. So I was like, oh, this is so exciting. So I got this man to airbrush my whole entire body. So I walk around the camp completely naked, but I had on this like snake-like futuristic art thing all over my body, and it was just so hot and beautiful. And I rode my bike around Burning Man, the camp, and everything, and it was really great. So when he was done with that, at that time I was playing with one of my teachers. I call him teachers because he wasn't my boyfriend. He taught me a lot of things, and so he was my teacher. And he stood there and he's like, so May, what are you going to do to appreciate him for what you got from it? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, so, ask him, what does he want? And he's like totally put on the spot, and he's like, oh, really? I get to ask whatever I want from this woman? And he said, yeah. And then so basically we kind of had that story of kind of thing where my teacher was standing there telling me what to provide to this guy, and it was just so hot. So he's like, so I bet you he wants his cock to be sucked on. And I'm like, I looked at him and going, do you want your cock sucked on? And the man goes, yes. And I'm like, okay. So I'm on my knees sucking on his cock, thanking him for, my beautiful body paint and so on and so forth. And it was just hilarious. It wasn't hilarious. It was really actually very powerful. So he ended up like fucking me in the middle of the camp, and everybody was watching, and it was just delicious and powerful and freeing, and I just couldn't believe it. I was just like, wow, look at vanilla me. Being such a good submissive, and what it did for him too was so amazing, because he was, even though he's been to Burning Man and he did that every year, no one has ever done that for him.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to talk about service, right, to receive that from me, he just lit up. He was so proud, and later on in the day when I rode my bike back, he just came out and he thanked me from I can just tell the sincerity of that, and he was like, he was so grateful to have that power exchange with me, to get to have that sex, and to get to have that whole, just a tiny bit of dominating and submissiveness there with me. And it changed his life. He's like, I'm going to remember this moment for the rest of my life. It was just so powerful. I never thought it could be like that.
Mm. Yeah, some people never have that offer.
Yeah, I think that could go into the do's, like, do be generous. One of the lessons that I learned was to be generous with my service. As I'm learning more in this world, I see how generous, how selfish and self-centered as a sex partner I am. It's all about me, really, and I give very little compared to what I get, and I think it's enough. And I think that was like my normal vanilla mindset, that I was just in that game, game to get married, game to get kids, and all these things, and I just was just not that generous about giving and serving until I learned about the kinky world and what they taught me.
Mm-hmm. do you think it was easier to offer that because you were in a submissive role and you had your teacher there suggesting it?
I think having a teacher there telling me what to do was really great, because I truly did not know how limited I was, how how self-centered, how self-focused I was as a sex play, as a partner. I just didn't have anything to offer, but I had a vagina, and in the vanilla world, that's enough. Men come after me because I have a vagina. That was enough, and then I work to put them away and that kind of stuff. Rather than really get over all that and really get into the being of service, doing the power exchange, giving and receiving, rather than taking.
Yeah.
Such a crazy world. It's such a crazy world.
Yeah.
So much that it teaches. So what else do people need to know as they start to dip their toes into this world?
I think I remember I went to this place in New York City called Pandora's Box once. Me and my friend, a friend of mine, Randy, went, and it was like a trip with the kink community. Pandora's Box was a dungeon in New York City, and pretty well-known one at the time. And we went there for a play party, and we met some people there who, this was like towards the very beginning of when I was, going to Man Ray and being kinky and getting into it. There's some people there who were big in the scene. They'd been players for a long time, and one thing that one of the gentlemen said was that in order to really embrace this lifestyle, you have to like what you see in the mirror. You have to be able to look at yourself and like who you are and feel good about who you are. Otherwise, it's going to be too easy for you to take advantage of somebody else, just all be about taking or trying to get some need met, as opposed to being in a space of offering service or looking out for your partner, or really being able to receive what's being offered you. So
if you don't like who you are in the mirror, you're so self-focused that when things happen, you unconsciously just go to all about you, crash and burn. You take everything that's happening and you interpret it to be it's all about you, rather than being of service, being in exchange of energy with another person, really giving and receiving with each other. Right? Yeah, and that's really a tough one, because I hear a lot of my women friends want so much to be a submissive and want so much to find that man to dominate them. And to be honest, I think dominant men are out there to be found, but I think there's also, you need to learn to cultivate it. We need to learn to cultivate it. We need to learn to cultivate our softer side, our surrendering side, so that we can cultivate and support our men to really be dominant, to be our master, to really take that power so that we can exchange and play with each other.
Yeah. Well, I think, the energetic between male and female, and no matter, it doesn't necessarily have to be a man and a woman. It can be in any combination relationship, but I think there clearly has to be someone who is embodying that masculine energy and someone who's embodying the feminine energy, someone who's about receiving and nurturing and accepting and surrendering, and someone who is about taking that action and putting forward and, doing and making it happen, and, just that more inserting the energy as opposed to receiving the energy. And my opinion is, in a lot of relationships now, women are embodying too much masculine energy.
That's right.
You don't let your partner be masculine. We don't we don't receive. We don't let anyone do anything for us. We don't let anyone tell us what to do. We know everything, and we can do it ourselves.
That's right. And we don't recognize it when a man is inserting is inserting his gift. We see it as always a challenge to us. Like there's a deep insecurity of us not being enough or something that's going on for us, that when we tend to demasculate our men around us. And when I realized that, and when I started turning that around, every man that was in a conversation with me or in interaction with me, if I learned to really listen to them and to help bring their manliness out, to cultivate that, man, they show up really big, and then they're strong. And in the old days, I would just challenge them. I would challenge their intelligence. I challenge, are you big, strong enough to take care of me? And then nobody ever showed up that way.
Mhm.
So I see that in a lot of women. We walk around challenging and thinking, are you good enough to be my boyfriend? Are you it? Are you it? Are you it? In a way, by doing that, we're actually not going to get what we want.
Mhm. Yeah. I think you're exactly right.
Yeah.
I feel like if you want to explore your kinky side and you want to try new things, you need to create an invitation around it. Be fun and playful and feel like it's a good thing. Like you get out of the shame mentality around sexuality and what you're interested in trying and doing, but also create a fun invitation so that someone wants to play with you.
That's right. You hear that word a lot in the kink world. Play. It's just a play. Let's just play. Let's go. Let's go to play. And it's like, this is not play. This is serious, for heaven's sake. And
it's not serious at all. It's the most ridiculous thing ever.
And one last tip I would say is to go with a girlfriend who knows. Have someone host you. Have a teacher or mentor, to take you to introduce some experience to you. Because I think when we just leave it up to the guys, the type that I see people do, a woman who's really needy, who hungers for a relationship, then she wants to have a dominant submissive because she read in the book and it sounded really good, and so she wants that. And then she craves, and then she puts all that responsibility on the guy that she meets. And all this stuff. Nobody can separate that out. If you want to explore your kinky side, get to know your kinky side first. Don't try to relationship into that. Get to and so when the way to help me know what I really want, like in the book, drives me nuts. Anyway, so just kind of go and explore your kinky side. Ask a girlfriend who knows. Call. Let me, I don't believe you can you to talk about support you.
Yeah, I think there's so many resources too online. When I first got into it, I got the book I think it's called Screw the Roses, Give Me the Thorns.
Yes, that's a very famous book. Yes.
Yep, and the dominant woman. I read all kinds of books about the dynamic and understanding what the language was, and about setting safe boundaries and about safe words. So just learning the lingo and the different things. Trying to figure out what I was interested in trying and doing. So there's so many places to get information from, and I know Boston has a pretty small community, relatively speaking, or at least really underground, because it's against the law here to spank somebody. You're not supposed to do that. You get arrested. Yeah, and you can't they're uptight about as far as play spaces and stuff like that. It's really hard around here, but there is community, and there's plenty. I know the community around here, they have what they call munches, which are just lunch meetups where you can just go and meet other kinky people and no one's playing, no one's doing anything. You're just meeting other kinky people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's in San Francisco there are lots of fun places. Like there's a little coffee shop that opens from 3 until midnight or something like that called Wicked Grounds in San Francisco. There's also let's do some shout out on a couple of people that we know and love that they're so credible out there. In San Francisco, there's Cleo Dubois. She is amazing. You should look her up. It's CleoDubois. She's been around the scenes for a long time, has a lot of great reputation. I actually took some dominatrix training class from her earlier this year. It was awesome. So lots of wonderful things from there. And also the Citadel. The Citadel is the hub where a lot of kinky community go to and play there. So that's from the West Coast side.
Yeah, and from the East Coast side, there's Princess Callie, who runs the Kink Academy, which is an online community website, which I highly recommend. She speaks at a lot of events. There's a big event in this area called the Fetish Flea Market that you can, like, there's events around, like Fetish Flea Market happens twice a year. You can go buy stuff. There's hundreds, thousands of people go, and it's like a really fun event. You can meet tons of people there. And if you're not into really, like, the Kink Academy is definitely more hardcore kinky stuff. If you're just interested in, like, dipping your toe in, Princess Callie also has a website called Passionate You, where, like, Passionate University, but it's called Passionate You, and it's like the Kink Academy, but it's just a little more tame. It's for people who are just interested in playing and, like, kind of getting their feet wet and learning all different kinds of things to do, like fun sexual things to do. So I definitely recommend both of those places. I took a couple classes with Callie a few years ago, and it was awesome. She's a great teacher. She's really fun.
Yay! And also, my very own Sex, Lies, and Consciousness place. That's the place that I'm creating, too, for people like me, vanilla, but like a little shade, a little gray, a little pink, a little red. I'm not in a lifestyle, but I really like it.
Yeah. And I would say I identify that same way. Like, I'm not in the lifestyle, but I like it. Throw some in now and then.
It makes me tickles and light up for some reason. It's just delightful.
Yeah.
Leah, tell them a little bit about you and what you got going on coming up so that they can find you.
Well, you can find me at defythebox.com, and that's my professional website. Right now I'm doing a class called Unleash Yourself, and it's not about being submissive, although it could sound that way. It's a 30-day program to, like, bring more you-ness out into the world and to learn how to confidently speak your truth and your desires and to just get more. It's for women who want more out of life. We did our beta version last month, and we got crazy great responses to it. I was, like, blown away. And then I also do something called the Luscious Ladies Lounge, which is a live event that happens on the third Saturday of the month in the Boston area. And we have a fabulous group on Facebook called the Luscious Ladies Lounge, that if you're interested in that, it's only for women, but if you're interested for that, you can check it out and ask for membership. And I've also created a website called Indulgence Inc. with my friend Kelly Sparta that has Unleash Yourself and the Luscious Ladies Lounge on it, and we'll be bringing in a lot more cool, indulgent, luscious happenings and events and people who are offering things that fall into those categories. You'll be able to find them on Indulgence Inc. as well.
Delicious.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad to hear that you have your hands in so many pots like I do. Oh, my goodness. Well, let me just bring this conversation to a close for now. I mean, we just barely tap it, did we, Kelly? I mean, Leah, there's so much more to do, right?
Yeah.
And more to talk about. I could just feel it. I'm like, oh, this is just the beginning. But, well, we do have the whole September, so maybe we can find another opportunity for you to come and play. For me, this topic about being submissive or dominant is so important, and it's so much more than than just about getting into a relationship. For me, I actually want to encourage us to pause on the need to find and be in a relationship and to really look at the freedom and the personal power that this work does offer. When we cultivate ourselves, when we get to know our sex, we will free ourselves up and we will become much more safe in this world. This is our sex. We have our own right to own this. So please use this knowledge and all the other stuff that you're learning out there. There's so much to learn about this, and it's so okay and good to learn about the BDSM world, to learn about your 50 Shades of Grey so that you can have your own safety, take back your freedom and power, and really play and set yourself free. All right, so more to come. Look for us in September on Facebook under my Sex Lies and Consciousness fan page, and also on the website, Sex Lies and Consciousness. Have a wonderful week, everyone, and I'll talk to you at the next conversation.